Welcome to H2K Infosys. H2K Infosys is a e-verify business based in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. We provide 100% job-oriented, instructor-led, face-to-face, true live online software training programs. It also includes access to cloud test lab with software tools. We provide live project for you to work on. We also provide assistance with mock interviews, resume preparation and review, and job placement assistance. H2K Infosys is trusted by so many students across the world. H2K Infosys provides world-class services in IT training with real-time project work for corporates and individuals, special IT training for MS students in the United States, software design, development, QA manual and automation, performance testing and maintenance, IT staff augmentation, job placement assistance, and tech support.
Normally one-to-one relationship, we won't be using one-to-one relationship because, as I mentioned, we need to use the primary key of our employee table and make sure that the primary key was reflected back to some other table to make sure to use the one-to-one relationship, and we need to put the same relationship back from the referred table as well. So normally we won't prefer to use one-to-one relationship. If you guys want to know about that, just refer to the docs, or else I'll send one more example. We need to create one more table and we need to write the relationship between both from both the mapping files. From Java code, normally we'll issue only get query, which is used to retrieve the information, and at the most we'll use save method or delete method or update method. Get and save will be used a lot, and delete also. Update method also will use a lot, but delete method, we won't prefer to use delete method from our Java code. If at all, if our requirement is to delete the records, then anyway we are supposed to use that. But the get method, most of the time we'll use the get method only because we are supposed to fetch the information, and some application will use the get method only all the times. But we have one constraint with respect to our get method. The get method only accepts primary key as a parameter. It won't accept other than primary key as a parameter. That means you can't ask the user to enter the username and password combination, and it's not possible for us to retrieve the details based on this criteria when you go for get method. So for that purpose only, Hibernate has provided some other ways. You can use or you can write normal SQL queries also, and Hibernate will execute that query using session object, and it will return the data also in persistent object representation. So that means it's not required for you to convert the data back into, previously when we retrieved the data from JDBC SQL query, we are supposed to convert the data back to employee object. It's not required for us to perform that operation. At least we can avoid that operation when we are going for normal SQL queries. Let us write one more method. void employee details by username. So I want to retrieve the employee details based on username instead of employee ID. So as usual, I need to get a session first and write our SQL query. So our SQL query will be select star from employee where username equal to question mark. And after that, you can call a method create SQL query by passing the SQL string. Create SQL query is the method which will access your SQL queries. And after that, this create SQL query will return an SQL query object. And after that, you can specify what kind of a class or what is the return type that will be returned by your query execution. So if you specify this, by specifying the add entity, so this is my entity class, and the response will be corresponding to the employee entity. And if you specify this one, you can directly store the information or directly get the information in terms of employee representation. Or else it will return the data in terms of a normal object. Oh yeah, you can add one more. And once after that, this will return SQL query object. By using SQL query, call a method list. List method will execute the query to the database and it will return the result in terms of a list. So currently it will yeah.
Please tell about again that add entity. What is the add entity?
Yeah, 1 second. See, if you didn't specify this add entity, Hibernate will execute the query and it will return the data. So here, while executing the data, it will just return a list of objects. It won't retrieve you directly the employee object. When you specify that, I know that the result will be in terms of an employee representation only, then you can inform to the Hibernate by using a method called add entity. Entity nothing but your entity class. This accepts a parameter. Currently my data will be in the form of employee class. So if you have specified employee.class, then you can directly retrieve. Hibernate will retrieve the data by using create SQL query. And once after that, it will read all the parameters from the returned value, returned result set, and it will make use of this employee class, and it will store the data in terms of list of employees. Yeah, you can write, no issues. Now, once you got the employee, print the size of employee. This is just like a SQL query, so you can write any kind of joins or any kind of group by operations within the SQL query itself. Employee object details. Or else employee dot list. So I'm just calling the size method. And finally return employee dot get of 0. So I'm only interested only about the first employee. Now change at our processor level as well. Here I am issuing a get query as well. Select query. Let me copy this and I'll write a overloaded method. So previously this is accepting directly a string. We made a mistake. Yeah, let me finish this off. Give me a second, please. So get user details. Currently, this is an overloaded method. This will accept only employee ID and password. This will accept string employee ID. So changes to employee username, string username. Change this one. Get employee details by username. So now the data will be returned in terms of data will be queried by username. So go back to our servlet class. Login servlet. So we are retrieving employee ID. Let us assume that currently this will enter as username, and this will call the username method. Internally, this will call username method, and it will retrieve the data, and it will see whether this works or not. Insert is using standard SQL. Auto ID. See, ultimately, when you're writing the insert statement, you are supposed to provide the primary key, or else that will be definitely going to throw an error. Steve and Steve I'm using. Expected position parameter. Oops, I didn't fill out this one. Come back to our video. I didn't pass this value. That's the reason it was giving an error. So the SQL query consists of several parameters, just like your prepared statement consists of several setter methods by which you can pass the query parameters. Here also you can make use of set parameter method, or if you know the data type, you can directly pass set string value. Here you can see there is an overloaded method available for set string. The first one is integer and string, next one is string and string. The first option will be just like how we have used within our prepared statement. Here you will specify username. This is the first option, or else the second option is which accepts both the strings. Instead of question mark, you can pass the parameter name by using colon symbol and with a sample name, dummy name. So you can just replace the dummy name at this level and pass the username now. So during the execution, it will see that this is just like a query parameter. After colon, it will assume that this is the query parameter, and it will match the query parameter name here, and it will replace the value at this level. Either of the choices you can follow. I guess JDBC, it starts at 0 only. You just need to verify that one. currently execute by using anyway the user parameter. Steve. So you can see that Hibernate has issued the same query and the number of objects returned as 1, and you can see that it has retrieved the information and passed to the next page properly. If you have called the address details, let us execute the address details. Here, if you try to call the address details, then it will be going to throw an exception, because for the first time it won't retrieve any information directly, because you are not associating with respect to the primary key return data. So if you want to return the data for this case, you are explicitly supposed to specify within your employee.hvm.xml, and I want to fetch the details, or I want to retrieve the details for my next class, nothing but my address class as well. The problem with this approach is, currently we have mentioned that we want to avoid the SQL queries itself. That's the reason we are going for Hibernate, and also connection pooling and several other stuff. But again, we are trying to write a query within our Hibernate access. That's the reason Hibernate has provided one more query language, which is Hibernate query language. In short, it will be called as HQL. Just like your SQL, HQL, it is represented in terms of objects. You are not going to write a full query, just like how we have written for our SQL query. Here we are going to write the queries in terms of objects. So that means you won't write like select star from employee where username equal to this. Instead of this, you will just specify this. I want to retrieve the details from employee object. From employee object where username equal to. So here you can see that I'm specifying the name of my entity bean and also the name of my property, but not the actual database column. And it's not required for you to write the select star also. It will directly, Hibernate will make sure that it will write the select star query, and it will append the from employee, and also it will replace the employee to employee table, and also username to user underscore name by using your Hibernate mapping file. Let me comment this one. So I'm changing this to HQL from employee where I don't want to specify column name. I just need to specify only the name of the property. And once after that, you need to call a method create query instead of create SQL query, and pass your HQL, and this will return a query object. See here, it's not required for us to specify add entity and also the class name. The reason for that is here itself you are specifying that I am working on this entity employee. So whatever the return value, it will be returned. It will be returned with the same data type. Now you can simply execute the employee.size and you can retrieve the first object. We forgot one more step. Query dot set string of username. So just like how it has issued the select query for our get method, here also you can see that Hibernate has issued the get query, and finally it has used the where class by using employee.username. You guys are supposed to verify what happens if we call the address details without the cascade option or fetch option. What happens if we place cascade option or fetch option while retrieving the information from this particular query? Select star from employee where salary between 1500, 1400 and 5000. So here you can see that from 1400 to 5000, these are the employees list that are available when you apply some kind of criteria. You have several other options to apply the criteria. You can just make use of order by option and order by employee first name. You want the data to be displayed in the ascending order of employee first name, and you have like option where you can specify percentage and percentage symbol. So those kind of options will also be available within our Hibernate itself. To use those stuff, we need to make sure that we are going to use another method call, which is create criteria method call. Until now, we have used create query and create SQL query. There is one another method. Let me copy this one. Get employee details by salary criteria. We'll fix this one. So once after receiving the session, call create criteria method, and on what class or what entity you want to apply the criteria. Currently, we want to apply the criteria on employee class. So the create criteria method will return a criteria object and once after that you can add any kind of criteria for your query. So currently my criteria is to add this particular case between 1400 and 5000. So the add method accepts an object of criterion, and there is a subclass of criterion which is restrictions class. The restrictions class consists of all your criteria related methods. all you can see that these are all static methods. So between, like, in, is empty, is null, size equal to or greater than, you can use, see, greater than, less than, like properties, less than, not equal to, or symbol. You can choose any of those criteria and you can add it to your existing criteria. You can add any number of criteria, and finally Hibernate will prepare the query based on the criteria that you have added, and it will execute and return the result in terms of a list object. So currently our criteria is between. The between method accepts 3 parameters. First one is property name, object low, and object high. So the low value and high value. So currently property is salary. You need to specify in terms of entities but not database columns. So criteria is 1500 and this one is 6000. And once after that, criteria dot list method will execute the query and it will return the employee list. See, every time when it has executed the query, it will return the result in terms of a list, even though it consists of only a single row. So if you are sure that it will consist of only a single row, you can directly retrieve a single by using employee dot get of index. If you are not sure, call the size method first and verify how many number of employees are available for criteria query. And let us change the return type as a list of employees. We want to display the total list back to the employee. Sorry, back to our JSP page. Oh, it is giving an error. Type list is not generic. It cannot be parameterized with arguments employee. Criteria.list will return a list object. Cannot convert from Java. Oh, probably I might have imported some other list. Yeah, java.util.list. This is fine. Let me write one more time. Criteria.list method. It will return a list object. List of employees. Session create criteria. We have added some restrictions, and after that we are trying to execute the query. This should return a list of employees. Everything was fine. Is there any mistake? the list of matched query results. Let me add the typecasting. The API says that this will return a list of type java.util.list. Okay. But here there is no generic parameter. That's okay. Create criteria. We have added restrictions. Finally, we are calling the list method, which will return a list of objects. But why it is giving an error without the typecast? Cannot convert from java.util.list to normal list. I have declared the syntax wrong. I have declared the syntax wrong. That's why it has given an error at this level. Okay. Let me add a method in login processor. I guess I have already one.
So many of our students have given testimonials on how our training programs are. You will find them on kudzu.com and on our website H2Kinfosys.com. On our website H2Kinfosys.com, you will also find more detailed information on who we are, the courses that we offer, what each course covers. Also, if you're interested in a demo program, please register on our homepage on the left-hand side. Just give us more information about yourself and we will send you a link for a demo class. The demo class is absolutely free. Experience our commitment by just attending an orientation workshop at no cost. Our team of faculty and advisors are here to guide you with the right information. If you still have more questions, please feel free to call us. Call us at 770-777-1269. This is a United States number. If you're calling from the UK, call us at 020-337-17615. You can also email us at training@h2kinfosys.com or h2kinfosys@gmail.com. Thank you for watching our videos. We wish you a great career in information technology.